Story time with Miss Grcic. Today we are reading a story about, do you know what this is a picture of? A hermit crab. I used to have hermit crabs from the boardwalk. Have you ever had a hermit crab as your pet? And we're reading this book because it's called A House. And what are our lessons about today? Houses. A house for hermit crab. Do you see two H's in this title? Can you point to them? You're right. Here's an H in hermit, and here's an H for house. After I'm reading this book, you are going to do a story extension. You are going to talk about what you would want your house to look like and what color, size, shape would you want it to be. What would you decorate it with? Now, I'll give you an example or an idea, because if I had a house, I would want it to be made of wood, but I'd want the wood to be painted purple. Now, I wouldn't want a big house, and I wouldn't really want a small house because I want to fit lots of dogs in my house. So I'd probably go for a medium house. So there's small, medium, large. So I'd have a wood house painted purple. It would be medium sized, and I would plant lots of flowers outside. And you know what? If I could pick and make it any shape I wanted to, I think I'd make it a star. Because right now we're just using our imagination. And if I could have any house, I would want it to be purple, made of wood, shaped like a star, medium sized, planted flowers outside, and I think I'm all set. So after the story, think about what would you want your dream house to look like? But now it's time to read A House for Hermit Crab by Eric Carle. Eric Carle has written and illustrated a lot of books that we've read so far. The Chameleon book we read when we were still in school, and then also The Hungry Caterpillar. He's a really good author and definitely a great illustrator. There we go. I really like this book because it talks about the months and it talks about friendship. Eric Carle, A House for Hermit Crab. Time to move, said Hermit Crab one day in January. I've grown too big for this little shell. He had felt safe and snug in his shell, but now it was too snug. That means too tight. Hermit Crab stepped out of the shell and onto the floor of the ocean, but it was frightening out in the open sea without a shell to hide in. What if a big fish comes along and attacks me, he thought. I must find a new house soon. If you didn't know, hermit crabs have these outside shells that they live in. The shell is actually their house. But when they grow too big, they, on the inside, actually kind of look like, reminds me of like a little tiny lobster. So they crawl out of their shell, and then they find another bigger shell to live in. So this is part of his journey. Early in February, Hermit Crab found just the house he was looking for. It was a big shell and strong. He moved right in, wiggling and waggling about inside to see how it felt. It felt just right, but it looked so, well, so plain, thought Hermit Crab. In March, Hermit Crab met some sea anemones. They swayed gently back and forth in the water. How beautiful you are, said Hermit Crab. Would one of you be willing to come and live on my house? It's so plain. It needs you. I'll come, whispered a small sea anemone. Gently, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and put it on his shell. Can you pick up the sea anemone and put it on your shell? In April, Hermit Crab passed a flock, which means a big group, of starfish moving slowly along the sea. How handsome you are, said Hermit Crab. Would one of you be willing to decorate my house? I would, signaled a little sea star. Carefully, Hermit Crab picked it up with his claw and put it on his house. Pick up the starfish and put it on your house. In May, hermit crab, that's the month we're in. Connection. In May, hermit crab discovered some coral. They were hard and didn't move. How pretty you are, said hermit crab. Would one of you be willing to help make my house more beautiful? I would, creaked a crusty coral. Gingerly, hermit crab picked it up with his claw and placed it on his shell. In June, that's the next month after May. In June, hermit crab came to a group of snails crawling over a rock on the ocean floor. They grazed as they went, picking up algae and bits of debris and leaving a neat path behind them. How tidy and neat working you are, said hermit crab. Would one of you be willing to come and help clean my house? I would, offered one of the snails. Happily, hermit crab picked it up with his claw and placed it on his shell. In July, hermit crab came upon several sea urchins. They had sharp, prickly needles. How fierce you look, said hermit crab. Would one of you be willing to protect my house? I would, answered a spiky sea urchin. Gracefully, hermit crab picked it up with his claw and placed it near his shell. He placed it near his shell, not on top of it. That's what he's been doing. But sea anemones are kind of pointy, so he probably doesn't want to put that too close to him. In August, hermit crab and his friends wandered into a forest of seaweed. So dark here, thought hermit crab. How dim it is, said the sea anemone. How gloomy it is, whispered the starfish. How murky it is, complained the coral. I can't see, said the snail. It's like a nightmare, cried the sea urchin. Look, that looks kind of spooky. It's just seaweed, though. In September, hermit crab spotted a school of lanternfish darting through the dark water. How bright you are, said hermit crab. Would one of you be willing to light up our house? I would, replied one lanternfish, and it swam over near the shell. What a great idea. In October, hermit crab approached a pile of smooth pebbles. How sturdy you are, said hermit crab. Would you mind if I rearranged you? Not at all, answered the pebbles. Hermit crab picked them up one by one with his claw and built a wall around his shell. No, my house is perfect. He's building a house out of stones. But in November, hermit crab felt that his shell seemed a bit too small. Little by little, over the year, hermit crab had grown. Soon he would have to find another bigger home. But he had come to love all of his friends, the sea anemone, the starfish, the coral, the sea urchin, the snail, the lanternfish, and even the smooth pebbles. They have been so good to me, thought hermit crab. They are like family. How can I ever leave them? In December, a smaller hermit crab passed by. I have outgrown my shell, she said. Would you know of a place for me? I have outgrown my house too, answered hermit crab. I must move on. You are welcome to live here, but you must promise to be good to my friends. I promise, said the little crab. What a great trade. The following January, hermit crab stepped out and the little crab moved in. Couldn't stay in that little shell forever, said hermit crab as he waved goodbye. Can you wave goodbye? The ocean floor looked wider than he had remembered, but hermit crab wasn't afraid. Soon he spied the perfect house, a big empty shell. It looked, well, a little plain. Sponges, he thought. Barnacles, clownfish, sand dollars, electric eels. Oh, there's so many possibilities. I can't wait to get started. I love that. He's on to his next big adventure. So do you see how he added all those things to his house to make him more comfortable? And he didn't want it to look so plain. So now, what would you want your house to look like? What color would you want it to be? What size would you want it to be? Would you want it to be a special shape? I cannot wait to hear about your very own special dream house.